There is a place on the moon where the sun never fully sets and the shadows never fully lift. Right now, not in science fiction, not in concept art, but in real engineering labs, real rocket factories, and real government contracts, humanity is preparing to move in. Not just visit, move in. And the race to get there first, it has already begun. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel covers the biggest stories at the intersection of science, exploration, and the future of our species. Hit that subscribe button, because what we're about to break down is one of the most ambitious engineering projects in human history. Today, we are going inside NASA's full-scale plan to build a permanent base and eventually a city on the moon's south pole. We're talking about the missions already launching, the robots already being built, the private companies already under contract, and the very real geopolitical race that is driving all of it faster than most people realize. Let's get into it. For decades, the moon was treated like a destination, something to visit, plant a flag on, and leave. The Apollo missions proved we could get there. But then we stopped going. So why are we suddenly rushing back, not just to visit, but to stay? Two reasons, and they are connected. Reason one, the South Pole is not like the rest of the moon. At the lunar South Pole, the geometry of the moon's tilt creates something extraordinary. Certain elevated ridgelines sit in near continuous sunlight, meaning almost unlimited solar energy. Meanwhile, just a few kilometers away, the floors of deep craters sit in permanent shadow, never touched by sunlight in billions of years. Those shadowed craters? Scientists strongly believe they contain water ice, locked in the frozen dark, preserved from ancient comets and asteroid impacts. Water ice on the moon is not just a scientific curiosity. It is rocket fuel, it is drinking water. It is the difference between a base that depends on resupply missions from Earth and one that can sustain itself. The South Pole is, in essence, a lunar gestation waiting to be opened. Reason 2. China is already planning to go there too. China's lunar program is advancing rapidly. Chinese officials have publicly announced their own ambitions for a lunar base at the South Pole. And here is the uncomfortable reality that NASA leadership has said out loud. The moon's most valuable real estate is limited. The ridgelines with continuous sunlight, the craters with water ice, the areas where both of those things exist in proximity. There are not many of them. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is geopolitics, played out on a world 384,000 kilometers away. And it is one of the core reasons NASA's Artemis program has shifted from exploration to establishment. So here is the actual plan. And it is more structured and more urgent than most people realize. NASA's Artemis program, Phase 1 alone, calls for 25 launches and 21 lunar landings between now and 2029. These are not symbolic gestures. Each one is a building block. Let's walk through the first 3 missions, because they are each targeting something different, and together they tell the full story. Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos' aerospace company, is leading the first mission under this program, called Moonbase 1. Their vehicle, the Blue Moon Mark 1 lander, is targeting a location called the Shackleton Connecting Ridge, a narrow elevated terrain near the South Pole that hits that exact sweet spot. Sunlight above, ice-containing shadows below. The mission will carry NASA instruments designed to study what happens to the surface during a lunar landing, understanding how the engine plume disturbs regolith, how dust behaves, how to land more precisely. This data will directly improve every mission that comes after it. Now, there was a setback. A recent explosion involving Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket-damaged launch infrastructure. The timeline took a hit. But Blue Origin says they still expect to fly before the end of this year. Whether that holds or slips, the mission represents the opening move of a much larger game. The second mission, Moonbase 2, is operated by Astrobotic and launches on a Falcon heavy rocket, SpaceX's workhorse heavy lift vehicle. The target landing zone, Nobile Crater, a permanently shadowed region at the South Pole. And the payload that makes this mission scientifically exciting, the Flip rover, built by Astrolab. Flip is not your standard rover. It is designed to test new mobility and payload technologies that will be critical for future human missions. Think of it as a scout, mapping the terrain, testing surface conditions, identifying hazards. The data it collects will quite literally draw the first lines of where the lunar base will and will not be built. Now this is where things get genuinely strange. The third mission, Moonbase 3, led by Intuitive Machines, is headed somewhere entirely different, and it is chasing one of the moon's most unexplained phenomena. Reiner Gamma is a bright, swirling pattern on the lunar surface, visible even from Earth through a telescope. It is enormous and unlike any geological feature we understand. It does not correspond to an impact crater. It is not a volcanic feature. Its origin is still debated. The leading hypothesis? A buried magnetic anomaly, a remnant of ancient lunar magnetism that deflects solar wind, protecting the surface beneath and causing the bright swirl pattern. Why does that matter? Because if a region of the moon has natural magnetic shielding from radiation, that changes the calculus of where humans can safely live and work. Intuitive machines will land there with NASA payloads and international science instruments to study this phenomenon up close for the first time. Here is something that rarely makes the headlines but is crucial to understand. Before a single astronaut sets foot at the South Pole, an army of autonomous machines is going first. NASA is developing what are being called moonfall drones, autonomous flying vehicles that will map the South Pole at extremely high resolution. We're talking about imagery and terrain data far beyond anything achievable from orbit. These drones will fly low over the surface, peer into crater edges, detect water ice deposits, and generate the 3D maps that engineers will use to actually design the base. They will define boundaries, they will identify hazards. They will find the best ground for construction. And then come the rovers. NASA has contracted two companies, Astrolab and Lunar Outpost, to develop lunar terrain vehicles, or LTVs. These are large, capable rovers designed to support astronauts beginning with Artemis 4. And critically, they can operate autonomously when no crew is present. That detail matters. A self-driving lunar rover that keeps working between human visits means continuous progress, even when no one is there to push the buttons. Let's zoom out to the full picture that NASA leadership is describing, because it is unlike anything the agency has formally committed to before. The long-term vision for the South Pole is a settlement that could cover hundreds of square miles, habitats connected by pressurized corridors, nuclear power stations providing baseload energy, mining operations extracting water ice and minerals, scientific facilities, and eventually industrial infrastructure. This is not a research station. This is the beginning of a permanent human outpost on another world. And NASA's leadership is being explicit about something important. Government funding alone will not sustain it. The long-term success of a lunar economy requires private industry, commercial opportunities, companies extracting resources, providing services, building infrastructure for profit. The moon, in this vision, is not just a destination for explorers. It is a frontier for Here is where we stand. NASA is not planning a moon visit. It is planning a moon civilization, phased, funded, and already in motion. The first robotic scouts are preparing to launch. The drones are in development. The rovers are under contract. The astronauts are training. And all of it is happening against the backdrop of a geopolitical competition that is accelerating the timeline in ways that pure science never would have. The moon's south pole is the most valuable piece of real estate in the inner solar system. It has energy, it has water. It may have natural radiation shielding, and it is the staging point for everything that comes after. Mars, the asteroids, deep space. The clock on this has already started. If this breakdown gave you something new, a detail you had not seen covered this clearly, share this video. Seriously, most people have no idea how advanced and how soon these plans are. Drop a comment below with this. Which of the three missions, Moonbase 1, 2, or 3, do you think matters most? I read every reply. And if you are not subscribed yet, we cover exactly this kind of story. The science, the strategy, the mysteries, and the real engineering behind humanity's next chapter. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because what's coming next, it's going to be extraordinary.